Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of CopaLoadofRacing. We've been away for a few weeks for one reason or another. Was due to do a vlog last week, but equine flu epidemic blown it a bit out of proportion, of course, but that put paid to that. So excuse me, we're back again this week, looking back over the events of that and the impact that it's had on racing over the past few weeks, or the past week or so. And yeah, it's obviously been a very difficult time for the racing industry, and the consequences of that. There's still issues for trainers who aren't allowed to race some of their horses still. We've also got the issue of horses being vaccinated again on the run up to Cheltenham, which for many trainers isn't ideal. They would rather do that in the off season, and so it's yet to be seen how that is going to affect runners at the festival. We'll see over the next few weeks how some of these horses are performing, and some of the particularly tomorrow we're going to see some horses aimed for Cheltenham in action at the likes of Ascot, Wincanton and Haydock. So yeah, it's pressing times. It was a bit of a shock to many of us, of course, when the news broke earlier last week to say that racing was abandoned that first Thursday, the likes of Doncaster and so forth. That racing was off there. Just over 2 weeks ago it was. So that was pretty, very much a big surprise for everyone, and it all emanated from that meeting at Ayr a couple of weeks back. Donald McCain's horse Razor Spark, and then there was a few other horses of his tested positive. We had the issue at Simon Christopher's yard in Newmarket as well. But BHA took stringent action. All racing was abandoned for nearly a week, and the reaction to that has been mixed. Initially, I think there was pretty positive reaction to it. It had to take place, but then some more trainers came out, the likes of Nigel Twiston-Davis, indicated that he felt that it was a bit beyond what needed to be done. Henrietta Knight came out on Nick Luck's on Sunday. She wasn't. She felt that it was an overreaction as well. Anyway, it's done now. We can't rewind history. Maybe learn from it. Absolutely. Personally, how did I feel about it? I think initially I was very much with the BHA on it. Then when you start reading different points of view, you start to question. This isn't Ebola. It's equine flu. Horses will get the flu. They're vaccinated against this strain. It's maybe moved slightly, but it's going to happen. And you just start to think about, you always hear about trainers speak about, we've got a bug going about the stable and that's why we were out of form, and you think, well, racing still continues with that, and those horses were probably competing with others when they had a bug, and okay, some would say, well, some of these bugs aren't contagious, but they must be in some respects when, if it's spreading through a stable or through a yard. So it did raise a lot of issues. Obviously there was a lot of there was a nervousness about it because we are so close to Cheltenham now. People's minds started to go back to 2001 when Foot and Mouth put paid to that year's festival, and nearly the Grand National as well. So it was worrying times. Where hopefully everything's set fair and we're okay to continue. Racing was back on Wednesday, of course. Musselburgh had a meeting, and it was free entry, which was a great initiative by the racecourse. Not the biggest of race cards. The same could be said at Kelso as well on Thursday for their big meeting yesterday with the More Battle Hurdle. We only had 2 runners in the big race, the Chase, which was a match between Captain Redbeard and Definitely Red, which Captain Redbeard caused a slight surprise by beating Brian Ellison's horse. So yeah, there's been obviously a few issues about some horses can't obviously race yet because of vaccinations or yet to receive a vaccination or so on and so forth. And yeah, still a lot being said in social media, but hopefully we're moving forward now, and over the next week or so, more trainers can get back running. The other big thing is as well is the unseasonably warm weather we're having, or dry weather, so to speak. It was pretty warm today for a February afternoon. It was a beautiful day, a very spring-like day, and that's obviously for the horses that are looking for softer ground isn't ideal. You're thinking now, this isn't going to last, is it? From looking at the week ahead, there is no real, there may be some rain, but not a significant amount, and then we're meant to be going back to drier weather, particularly for the south. And you think, well, as some of the trainers would say, the rain's got to come sometime, and is it, lo and behold, going to come during the actual festival itself? And that might just turn form right round from everything that you've been watching so far this season, because it's not just like the past month we've been racing on good ground, it's literally all season, to be fair. So that's going to cause a lot of interest come March, if that does continue. If we, the rain may come, but it's, I think it would need to be quite a bit of rain if it's going to make a change to conditions there. Cheltenham themselves will be monitoring that, because they'll be thinking we'll need to water if this dry weather continues, but we know that causes problems if forecasts get wrong and the track's watered and then a whole deluge of rain comes, and then the course is just heavy like we started on last year. So yeah, there's more interest in that. This weekend's racing at Ascot, right across the board, are going to be racing on pretty decent ground. Even at Haydock at this time of year we expect heavy ground in the description, but they are good to soften places on the chase course at the moment. That may have dried out for tomorrow, so it'll bring a lot of intrigue into their racing there. So there's a lot of obviously trainers out there, connections out there that are wanting some rain and wanting some cut in the ground so that they can get some of their horses out there running. Right, moving on, I'll look at tomorrow's racing. I picked out 3 races to look at. First of all, at this time of year, last year I gave out my ante-post tips for both Cheltenham and the Grand National. The Grand National weights were announced earlier this week, so I've looked at that. But first of all, with Cheltenham on the horizon, my nap for Cheltenham at the moment is in the Stayers Hurdle, and it's Paisley Park. Been keen on this horse all season, and it looks like it has a real chance. Of course, it's favourite at the moment. It's about 9-4. I wouldn't be backing it at that price at this stage. I would just hold on my money until actually the day. It may it probably will get shorter, but things change, and if you shop around, you might get some value on the day. So I would leave that one at the moment. The 2 that are at bigger prices are actually on the Friday of the festival. And the Albert Bartlett, the Novices Chase for horses staying hurdlers. Relegate I backed last year in the bumper when it won under not for Ruby Walsh, sorry, apologies, one for the Mullins team, and Ruby's sister was on board, of course, and it was a big price that day, and it ran on really strongly up the hill. It's not had the greatest of seasons. Katie Walsh, I should say. It's ignorant of me to say Ruby's sister. Katie, who's a fine jockey herself, of course. But Katie gave it a great ride out the back, swung it round the bend and belted up the hill. So as I say, it's been in and out this season. has a similar profile to the likes of Briar Hill, who did the same sort of feat in winning the bumper, and then was due to run in the Albert Bartlett the following year, had an in and out season prep for that, and then failed in the Albert Bartlett to my horror that day. So it relegates around about 16 to 1 at the moment, maybe worth looking at. And in the Gold Cup itself, Presenting Percy, who's missing his target race tomorrow in Ireland, in the Red Mills Chase, who knows what's going to happen with that, if it's not going to get it in its prep run. But I like Bells Hill. It won at the Dublin Festival, of course, won the Irish Gold Cup. I'm not saying that it's going to win the race, but 14 to 1, I think it will be shorter come the day, you know, because there will be some shopping around for that if Presenting Percy does turn up, particularly if it does get another prep run in, which might not happen now. Native River doesn't look like it's going to get another prep run in, which is not a major thing when you look at that horse's profile. I think it's more than capable of turning up on the day at Cheltenham and running really well, particularly if it gets its ground. So I think there's some value out there with Bells Hill at 14 to 1 for that one. Looking at the Grand National, remember this time last year I'd spoke about Tiger Roll, and I got that around about I think boosted odds around about 60 to 1 or something. Tiger Roll's currently 20 to 1 for this, and that's going to be an interesting one to see the great Tiger Roll, who's been a magnificent horse, 3-time festival winner, and of course a Grand National winner, and who's to say he couldn't do it again, back-to-back wins for the great Gordon Elliott. So 20 to 1, as I say, for Tiger Roll. In terms of the Scottish horses in the race, one for Arthur is currently 40 to 1. You still have to have question marks about that horse in terms of how it's going to fare with its jumping. But Aintree Fences may just bring it back to its best, who knows, but it's currently fit at 40s. Captain Redbeard, who won at Kelso yesterday, has been round to Aintree before, so that experience, it's nothing to say that it's jumped fences before. It's never really maybe shown itself at its best, but it's 50 to 1, and the other key thing is it needs quite a few horses to come out before it would get into the race. That's something to bear in mind with Captain Redbeard. The one that is the one that's trained in Fife, and that's Lakeview Lad at 33s, and that's creating some interest there for that one. The two that I'll pick on at the moment, and Rath Vinden, who is currently, I think, around about trading about 33 to 1. Willie Mullins' horse hasn't been seen this season. Last time it won at the festival last year, I tipped it then, and then I think it was pulled up in its next run, maybe at Punchestown. It's not been seen since then, but it's in the race, so I think there's still issues about whether or not it will still go to Aintree. I'm sure that Willie Mullins might want to get some sort of race in it. The weights are out now, so it's not a major thing now if it goes and jumps and wins by 20 lengths somewhere prior to that. I didn't check, it might be entered in the next few weeks, but it's worth taking a look at that. Sorry, it is entered, Rath Vinden. Sorry, it's entered into the actual Gold Cup itself, which has down the years been used as a prep run for the Grand National, of course, and so that'll be interesting if it does actually go there. If the ground was to go pretty soft at Aintree, it doesn't bode well in terms of anti-post bets, I get that, but the horse that I think would be worth noting is the one that won the Grand National trial last year, and that's Yala Enki, and that's currently about 50 to 1. So if there was to be cutting the ground and you were wanting to hedge your bets on that and stick a few quid on something just now, then Yala Enki might be the one to look at in that respect. Right, anyway, moving on moving on quickly. Let's move on to tomorrow's racing. A bit of a shame, some of the races that have obviously been moved to this weekend after the racing was off last week at Newbury and so forth. The Denman Chase, obviously, we're not going to have Native River. and that race is. It's a shame that it's not going to happen. Over in Ireland, Present Percy is obviously also not going to go. Still a decent wee 4-runner race, and will be interesting to view. But you know, there must be a wee bit of nerves. Anybody that's maybe backed at Present Percy anti-post for the Gold Cup had its prep run over hurdles, of course, but I'm sure they will want to get that another jumps a chasing race into them. But anyway, it's not to be. The 3 races that I'm going to look at are races. One of them, Betfair Hurdle, was due to be run obviously last week at Newbury. Great that it's going to be run at Ascot. Different type of track, of course, going right-handed, considering not on the left. But anyway, the horse that I'm going to pick out is Paul Nicholls, teaming up with Harry Cobden on board for Paul Nicholls and Getaway Trump, who is currently training around about 3-1. A bit shortish for a big field handicap, but this horse certainly has something about him. Ran in a Class 1 last time out at Newbury, just between Christmas and New Year. Prior to that, had won at the likes of Exeter and Plumpton. So it took a marked step up in class after those victories, but deserved so due to the manner of those wins. So stepping back into handicap company, up against the likes of Al Dancer for the Twiston Davis team, who's the favourite at the moment at 11-4, and that's already won. It's had a hat-trick of wins so far this season, and looks pretty impressive. But Getaway Trump for me is the one that could lay it down to El Dancer at a bigger price. I think I'll go with Tom Lacey's horse, Equus Amadeus. It's currently around about 25s, but won't mind the good ground, that's for sure. And most of the horses that you look back through the form here, and you'll see that have run well in this ground, because that's what we've had most of the season. If you maybe forget its run on Trials Day at Cheltenham, where it finished down the field, if it can find the form that when it won at Doncaster back before Christmas, then it has a chance. And that was a £12,500 handicap, and Stan Shepherd takes off a handy £3 here, so an each wee punt Equus Amadeus might be worth a wee go. Right, moving on to the 3.55 at Ascot. By the way, that Betfair Hurdle, if I didn't say, is off at 3.20. That's when it's due off. The Betfair Ascot Chase is a Grade 1 here, waiting patiently. As in the name, this horse has been waiting patiently to get another run after it had ran at Kempton and unseated there, of course. That was its first run for nearly a year. It was at this corresponding meeting last year where we'd seen it the last time, when it won very impressively. It does like cutting the ground, and it's not going to get that tomorrow. So that I'm 74. I'm wanting to take it on. Sydenham for Paul Nicholls' other runner in it is got a real live chance. Of course it has, but I like Politolog. It enjoys Ascot. Won there back in November over course and distance. This is a Class 1 event, but this is his perfect trip, just over 2.5 miles. Ran, of course, in the King George. Again, I always felt that was going to test his stamina, and it did. But I like the profile of this race would suit him in the sense of it's the trip. It is a Grade 1, I get that, and he has won Grade 1s, let's not forget, at the likes of Aintree, but I just think he has a live chance of beating the front two in the market there, Politolog. Currently around about 72 you can get it at. Right, moving to Haydock, I'm looking at their 3.35, which is the William Hill Grand National Trial Handicap Chase, over 3.5 miles. Yala Inky's in this race, and some of the horses that are obviously going to be targeting that big race at Aintree in April, first Saturday in April, of course. Yalenki's in there, but as I say, it does like soft ground, so I wouldn't be keen to back it then. But hey, if it wins, then it gives you a good indication about that 50 to 1 price that I mentioned earlier on. So the one that I'm looking at is at about 12 to 1 for Nicky Martin. Matt Griffiths takes a ride, and that's the Two Amigos. Stepping up in class, this horse, and it's on a hat trick if it can win to Nip tomorrow, having won at Exeter and Plumpton over the past couple of months in decent races over a fair trip. Doesn't seem to mind what type of ground it faces. It's won in heavy ground, but it's also it's performed well in good to soft. Won in good to soft actually last time out at Plumpton. The current track, as I say, it's good to soft in places on the chase course, so if that even dries out a wee bit, it shouldn't bother the Two Amigos. Bigger price, as I say, stepping up in class, I granted to that, but I think it's got a chance at 12 to 1. That's the Two Amigos. Right, that's about it from me for this week. Good to be back with the old CopaLoadofRacing vlog. Racing this week in terms of in Scotland, on Monday there's obviously a good fixture at Ayr, their February finale, and then I think that's them until their Saturday meeting in March. So if you're about and you can get out on the Monday, then why not go along to Ayr if the weather's good, of course. I'm sure it will be. Good to get out a wee bit of days racing at Ayr. It was disappointing going back to the old Musselburgh thing. It was obviously a massive blow to lose, first of all, the trials day to the weather, and then to lose it to the equine flu issue. But it's one of those situations that's out of their hands. But yeah, let's be glad that we're back racing, and CopaLoadofRacing's back. So get yourself a few winners tomorrow, hopefully, and I'll see you next week. CopaLoadofRacing.